18 months, 23,000 kilometers, one EV. Now is the time to discuss about my ownership experience along with the cost to own these kilometers. Hello everyone, welcome to the Green and Clean YouTube channel. My name is Vittal. Whether you're new to EV or you already have an EV or trying to consider for a new EV, then this channel has a lot of content for you. Do check it out in the video section, and if you like it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. When I bought BYD E6, I was actually looking for Toyota Innova Hycross. That was what I really wanted to buy. There was a huge waiting period for the Innova Hycross, something like 18 months, 24 months. So they were not producing Hycrosses at that pace back in 2023. So I was not ready to wait for 12 to 18 months. I needed a car much before that, and that's how I accidentally landed up in an EV in BYD E6. I have covered a separate episode on how I ended up buying this car. You can check it here. So, how has been the experience last 18 months? I would I would say very good. If there is a scale of 10, I would probably give it 8 or 8.5. It's been a very good experience so far. What I like about the car is the simplicity. It is just a no nonsense car with minimalistic features but gives great space, good comfort, and a very nice range. And being an EV, it is very economical to run it. I will come to the expenses part. How much did I really spend for driving 23,000? But just wanted to highlight what is good about the car: good space, range, comfort, and I don't know. Even after driving for 23,000 kilometers for 18 months, it still feels like a brand new car. I know things about cars, and by now, when you drive like 20,000 plus kilometers, there would be some wear and tear, and especially if you look at the seats are still looking like brand new. So I'm overall impressed with the quality of this car. We all seem to make fun of quality when it comes to Chinese products, but trust me, when you talk about EVs, especially BYD cars, I guess they are top notch, right up there with any other brand in terms of quality. Having said that, there are a few things also which is not so good or are missing in this car. The number one issue I see is AC. The AC is good. It's no way of saying that the car has a bad AC, but what BYD has missed out is the number of vents for a car of this size. They just have like 3 or 4 vents for the entire cabin, and this is a big car. And for a car of this size, the number of AC vents is pretty less. So, what happens because of that is that when you start the car from a bright on a bright day under if your car is parked under sunlight and you're trying to start it after that, then it's going to take some time to get the cabin cooled. Once the cabin cools, there is no issue, but it is still irritating when you have a car where you have to bear that heat for, let's say, 3 4 minutes before the cabin actually gets cool. So the number of AC vents pretty less. AC performance could have been better. I would give the AC maybe 6 or 7 out of 10. The car does have a body roll. Of course, MPVs, most of the MPVs has body rolls, but with BYD E6, it's a soft suspension setup. It's a multi-link suspension. So on flat roads at high speeds, there is great stability. It handles the curves also very well, but what it doesn't handle is slightly uneven roads, and you will see a lot of body rolls when it goes through when you ride on these Indian roads, specifically the Bangalore roads, which are pretty bad these days. And there's a lot of body roll in the car, so that is something that I'm not very happy about. And then the next point is the A pillar. So the car has a very thick A pillar, especially when you want to look for things on your right side or taking a right turn on a guard section or a narrow road. You have a blind spot because of the thick A pillar. The A pillar gives a lot of protection. The thicker the A pillar is, the better is the car's rate testing. Um, so it's a compromise between a car with a good safety versus a small blind spot it creates. It's a problem only for the new drivers or during the first few days of owning the car. Once you know where the pillar is and how to look around in those situations, then it should not be a problem. But it is still sometimes it just acts as a blind spot, which I don't like. And I've already said in many videos that this car has now become my primary car. So I have driven 95% of the time on this car and only 5% of the car times on the other car that I have. So what I bought as a second car or a car for the city is now really my primary car. I try to go everywhere in this car. Okay, so let's come to the most important section of this video. How much did it cost to run 23,000 kilometers? That's what you are probably interested in. For this, what I have done is I have gone into all my mobile apps where I use the all the charging apps that I used on the mobile, and went into the wallet and checked the transactions to see how much money I have spent on each of these charging providers. That's the problem with the EVs. So you have to have multiple charging provider apps, and they will have their own wallet, and it's not so convenient. So I have used Static, Xeon, GeoBP, Charge Zone, and a few other providers. So then lot of the charging happens at home. So I've also looked at the situation of home charging. So let's discuss this in detail. Next, I'm showing you my home charger. This is pretty much one charger that I've used so far for all the AC slow charging. And as you can see here on the top below that 16 amp number, so far I have used 2887 kilowatt hour or 2887 units for home charging. Let's first check how many units I have consumed to drive this car so far. And you can get this by going through here in info and then coming to mileage. And you can see here, on an average, I have consumed 14.5 kilowatt hour for 100 kilometers, and I have driven 22,923 kilometers. And if you do the math, it comes to roughly around 3,323 units or 3,323 kilowatt hour. So that's the energy consumption for this car to run 22,923 kilometers. Okay, let's first look at the charging mix. As you can see from this picture, I have home charge for 2,887 units, and then I have public charge for 931 units. So that makes it a home charging mix of about 76% and public charging mix of about 24%. And then what I have done is calculated the cost of each of these public charging sessions. I mostly use Xeon, Static, GeoBP, Glida, and Tata Power so far. You can see the split from various apps that I collected, and this comes to a total spend on public charging, which is equal to rupees 18,756. Now let's see actual cost of ownership or savings for these kilometers. You can see home charging I have put as rupees 0 because I have solar panels and I do charging from solar energy. So I put it as 0. Public charging cost is 18,756 as you've seen earlier. Total kilometers driven is 22,923 kilometers, and that comes to a cost per kilometer of just 0.82 rupees or 82 paise. So that's how much I have spent in an EV for running nearly 23,000 kilometers. And if I do that comparison with the equivalent petrol car, which gives, let's say, roughly about 15 kilometers a liter on an average for 23,000 kilometers at petrol cost of rupees 102, then on ICE car, I would have spent about 1,55,000 rupees. So that makes it a saving of 1,37,000 rupees roughly since I started owning this car. And not to forget the carbon footprint that I have saved. It is nearly 3.5 tons. So that's the reason why I'm a strong advocate of going for EV. Okay, by now some of you might be saying, yeah, I paid some money for the solar panel, so that money should be considered. True, but I had solar panel before I had EV, and to be honest, I don't know how much of solar energy goes into charging my car versus also powering my house. So I don't have the exact figure. So what I've done is, let's assume that I don't have a solar charging and purely I'm home charging from the electricity grid. So the rates here in Karnataka is about rupees 6 per unit. So if I multiply 2,887 units with 6 rupees, it is about 17,322 rupees, and then you add the public charging figure, and it comes to roughly about rupees 1 rupee and 57 paisa for running a kilometer. So I still am saving 1,19,000 rupees compared to an equivalent ICE car for running these many kilometers. And have a look at the service cost, which is just 780 rupees. Of course, it's because of the free service, but even if it was a charge service, it would have been 3,500 plus 700. Let's take a look at charging efficiency. This is something that when you buy EV, you may not be fully aware, but you should be aware. There is some energy loss when you charge your car. So in my case, I try to do this figure. So again, 2,887 units of home charging, and then adding the public charging units. So totally, I have consumed 3,818 units. But As per the car, from the car's panel, I'm only getting an account of about 3,323 units. That means the electricity used was 3,818 units, but what actually went into the car is 3,323 units, and that makes it an energy loss of 13%. And this is a common figure. Anywhere between 10 to 20% of your charging electricity goes as a loss, transmission loss and heat loss and other kinds of losses. So that's the number that I'm looking at. So I've lost 13% energy while charging this car. And if I do the kilometers per unit, it comes to a good figure of 6.9 kilometers per unit, and it's a pretty decent figure for a car of this size. And if you convert this metric into the average range that I'm getting with this car, so it's a 71 kilowatt hour battery pack, so multiply that with 6.9 kilometers, so I'm roughly getting an average of 489 kilometers of real life range with this car. And I tend to believe that this is the true figure. In my estimation, it was about 460 to 480 is what I was thinking. I never did like 100 to 0 percent range test. Most of the time, you are charging your EV. Whenever you hit like say 30 or 20%, you go and charge the battery. So you don't get exactly what is the range, but if you do this calculation this way, I'm getting about 489 kilometers of real life range, which is very good for a EV. And the last figure, which probably some of you may be interested, is state of health after running these many kilometers. So my state of health is around 97%. That means 3% of the battery is already degraded in about 18 months. And this number, to be honest, on an average per year, you lose about 2 to 2.5% of the range. So even considering that, I'm maybe slightly above average. So instead of somewhere around 98.5 or 98, I am sitting at 97% state of health. But the state of health curve, as you know, is not very linear. So as the number of year goes, as the charging cycle goes, it flattens out a little bit, and you won't see like 3% degradation every year. So that's not how it works, and I hope that is true. To be honest, I don't see any range drop after running it for 18 months. Some of the range tests that I did, which you can see here, is around 15th or 16th month of this car. So it was still giving the range as it gave for a new car. All right, so that's the summary, ownership summary of owning this BYD E6 for the last 18 months. Hope you found some useful information from this video. See you again in some time.